Okay, let me try again. Brother Nature, are you hearing me?
Yes, but
Yeah, but I'm getting a feedback. I'm not too certain why I'm getting a feedback. Um, Let me try again. Are you there? Hello?
yes, I'm here, but
Still getting that feedback, but not too sure why. Probably need to get one of these microphones off. Okay. Let's get this.
can you hear me on the radio?
Hmm.
If I can hear
No,
him on
no,
the
we
radio.
just we just trying to get the audio right to avoid the feedback, Brother Nature. All right. So could you speak again? Let me just see.
Hi, but
Still, but okay, okay. What I'll do, I'll bring you in, and then we probably work on that while ago. So I'm gonna put you live now. All right. Let's see if we have this correct. Good, good. It's actually 12 o'clock, just about. So good
that is
afternoon to
not
you,
here.
Brother Nature. Brother Nature, you're not hearing me.
But I'm hearing you, but it seems as though
I'm hearing
you're
you.
in the twilight zone.
I'm hearing you, but it's just that I have
Yeah,
a little echo. I'm not sure where that's coming from. So I'm
yeah,
trying to.
but from where I am, there is no reason for you to have, well, for us to have this kind of echo.
Okay, I think we're much clearer now. Let's see. Probably get
But you
that.
sound clear.
Yeah, I don't know what's the echo. Maybe one of these.
There's
Okay.
a little feedback. The noise is gone, but there's a feedback.
Um, okay. Maybe the volume on your where you log in need to go off.
Okay, can you hear me?
Let's see now. Yeah, much better. All right. Sorry about that. Let me. I think apologize there for those little technical glitch, but we should be okay. Good afternoon again, brother Bernature. Welcome to the New Times program today, Thursday, January the 18th. Good day to you. How are you doing?
Hello, bot.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, bot. Good afternoon. Well, morning. It's a
Well,
little good
it's
afternoon,
just
isn't it?
afternoon.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm doing my best to hear you. I really hope we don't have any further issue.
Mhm.
But so far, so good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're ready now.
Yes, I'm hearing you. I still have an issue with the feedback. Let me see if it's from my end here. Just getting some thing here from button of speakers in the studio. I don't think it's that. Yes, so okay. All right, let's go ahead. Let's proceed.
Okay, but are you hearing me better?
I'm hearing you now. I don't have a problem, but just that there's a echo that I'm not sure where that's coming from.
But do we still have it?
Yes, loud and clear.
No, no. Do we still have the echo?
Yes, but I'm not sure. But I think we could work with it and sort it out as we go along. I think we could work with it and sort it out. So let's go.
And we go on like this.
Brother Nature? Hello?
Yes, but I'm here. I'm ready to go. But we just
Yes,
want to get this
I'm saying let us go ahead.
finished.
Sorry about that. Let us go ahead.
Okay. All right then. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to all listeners and viewers wherever you are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and around the world. There is a reason why we are here today. Well, I am here solo, and the reason why I am here is because of the premature end of the 2024 budgetary exercise, the debate. I want you to take note about that at this time I am unable to hear you. Not that you're inaudible, but because I had to get my device away so that there would not be any echo, any feedback at all from my side. Yeah, so I'm going to go through this presentation, and after that, we can actually have a discussion on it. Okay. So in the meantime, I am not able to hear you. If you talk to me, then Lavon is going to have to relay that information.
No, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
So yes, again, very pleasant good afternoon to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and whether you're living here or you're living abroad, or those persons who have an interest in the affairs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now we're here today to continue what we've started earlier in the week, that is the New Democratic Party representatives and senators in the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, giving our position on the 2024 budget exercise. Now, I don't want it to be lost on our listeners and also our viewers on social media why we are actually using this forum to get our information, to get our part, our ideas out to you belatedly. And that is simply because the government has presented a budget of $1.6 billion. That is their budget. And as far as they're concerned, it is a record budget. As far as they're concerned, it is a budget. If you listen to them and if you listen to the presentation of the Minister of Finance, you get the impression that this budget is a panacea to all of our problems. Having listened to him present in all his glee and enthusiasm, this budget bears a striking similarity to budgets of previous years, because you have the Minister of Finance boasting about how well the lives of the Vincentian people are going to be for the year that he's presenting that budget for. And those of you who are listening out there, and I'll take it back from 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and here, 2024. Now in 2020, they presented to us what they called a record budget. And I think that was the first time that we're crossing the $1 billion mark as to the revenue that the government wants to raise and how it intended to spend it. And a glorious picture was painted as to how that is going to transform the lives of the Vincentian people and how all their problems will disappear. 2020 came, and also with it came an election. And all the glorious plans that were offered to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, precious little was delivered to them. They're back in government today, and they continue the same trend in trying to deceive the people of this country that the budget that they're presenting, one, they're going to be able to raise the money to finance the projects, and those projects that will be financing, that will be financed, will actually be beneficial to all of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and their lives are going to be exponentially better. But we know that the lives of the Vincentian people did not get better. A matter of fact, year after year, successive years of their budget presentation, the lives of the Vincentian people are getting worse. And the minister came back this year with another glorious budget. And as I told him during my response of the estimates, during the estimates debates, that while he is confidently presenting that budget, is one of two things. It's either that he has a plan and the government is unable to execute that plan, because obviously the plan that they have is to try to improve the lives of the Vincentian people. Well, at least as far as we rationally would look at it. Or number two, is that they are intent on deceiving the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because they know, one, they would not be able to raise the revenue to finance all those glorious projects that they have in the budget for 2024. So I don't need to tell our people, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that there is precious little to look forward to from that particular budget. Because this year's budget is not a panacea to our problems. It is very similar to the previous budgets where they were offering so much to us, promising that they will be delivering so much. And very few people have been benefiting. Only those persons who are in the inner circle of the Unity Labour Party are benefiting. And the vast majority of Vincentians, they are seeing their lives change economically for the worse. And therefore, I am saying to the Vincentian people that this is a budget that you cannot trust. It is one that is laden with promises. And at the end of the year, the fiscal year, you would notice that they, by and large, are broken promises. Let me give you a case in point. We, from time to time, go to the parliament, and every time there's a new parliament, we go and we ask questions about certain projects in our constituency, certain things that we think need to be done. And we would ask questions about them, and within a half of the fiscal year, the minister responsible for transport and works would say to us that I wish I could do these things, but we just don't have the money. Not realizing that a mere 6 months prior to that, they were promising us that they would be doing all these glorious things. Last year's budget was one where we heard the Minister of Finance boasting that they had $100 million to spend on roads. So all of the roads in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be transformed automatically. But you know for yourselves, wherever you are living, for the most part, your community, you've seen that after 2023, your roads are in the same condition or even worse. So they continue to give us these promises, but they fail to deliver. And when the Vincentian people are catching hell, they are living life to the fullest. So I want you to bear that in mind. Now, taking a closer look at the 2024 budgetary presentation of the Minister of Finance. They are proposing to spend $1.6 million. No, $1.6 billion. And if you look at this book, this is budget 2024. I hope you're able to see it. And as you turn the page, one page over, they give us a very good overview of what this budget entails. Now, I want you to follow with me, as one of the pilot projects that they have been talking about all the time is one with respect to climate change. And I want to tell us or show us today how climate change affects every single one of us and how the focus of the government is not designed to help overall or mitigate against the effects of climate change throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, they are proposing to spend here $11 million on coastal defense work at Sandy Bay. And they have been talking to us about climate change and how important it is for us to protect the coastal area in that area. Now, climate change, you might be wondering precisely what this is. If something is going to change, it means that it was in a different condition before. There was a different reality. So when we do talk about climate here, we are talking about the state of the atmosphere. When you look up, that is the atmosphere that we're talking about. And for the most part, it's either sunny, it's cloudy, windy, or it is hot, generally speaking, or it is cold or cold, depending on where you're living. So you can see all the clouds, the different types of clouds that are up there. That is the state of the atmosphere, but it is over a long period of time. What the scientists are saying to us is that the climate is changing, because usually what would be a normal weather pattern, it is now changing to becoming extreme weather conditions. For example, when you used to have seasonal rainfall, one part of the year you have rainfall and a reliable amount of rainfall, and then in the other part of the year you probably have a dry season. Now I'm talking about the Caribbean condition, because we, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is located in the Caribbean. So I'm not going to be talking too much about snow and all of these sorts of things. It is also saying that there is something that is happening, and we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are not making any contribution to it. Or if we make any contribution to it at all, our contribution is very minuscule, very, very tiny. Now, what are they talking about? It is the effect of global warming, where large industrialized countries are actually competing with each other to see who can outdo the other with respect to manufacturing industries. And when they are manufacturing, it means that they're using fossil fuel. For the most part, they're using coal, or they're actually using diesel and oil products. So the emission, the smoke, and so on, that goes up into the atmosphere after you're running these machines, it is actually causing the atmosphere to heat up, depleting what is called the ozone layer, and hence the globe itself becomes warmer. Now, if you listen to the report, the climate report, from June, July, August, September, October, November, December, each of those months was successively higher in temperature than the other. As a matter of fact, those months were the hottest on record anywhere in the world since it started taking record. And when that takes place, it means that the entire globe is warming up, and we are going to be experiencing extreme weather conditions. Now, what are the weather conditions that we would be experiencing is rising sea levels. And how can we come about that? If the globe is warming, it means that ice that are embedded in the polar areas, North Pole, South Pole, they would start melting. And once they start melting, it means that that water is going into the sea, raising the level of the sea. Now, we are on an island. I need us to be mindful of that. And once there's rising sea level, it means that more water is coming to our shores. And in the Atlantic coast of our country, we have a lot more wind. The prevailing wind is stronger there. And therefore, I can see the rationale that the government has here for allocating $11 million for coastal protection, because that area in Sandy Bay and the northeastern coast of our country will suffer from coastal erosion, that is sea erosion. But that is not the only aspect that needs to be protected against, my friends. If you have a situation as the scientists are now saying to us, they're actually raising a red flag to us, saying that they are in doubt of being able to contain global temperature from rising to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Now, pre-industrial level, that is the level before all this manufacturing took place. So now that manufacturing industries are operating, they are contributing to the warming of the climate itself. And with that contribution, it means ice is going to start melting. And when the ice starts melting, our shores are going to be inundated. As a matter of fact, the scientists are saying to us that if we cannot contain global warming to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, what you're going to find is that the sea is going to encroach the land up to 200 feet. And I remember hearing the Minister of Finance saying in his presentation, in his budget presentation, imagine the sea invading the area of Sandy Bay 200 feet. Well, I can imagine it. Certain areas where it is low-lying, it can happen. But the area where they are having this sort of concentration, it is impossible for the sea to encroach the land 200 feet. Now, I remember about 6 months ago, I went to the parliament and I asked a question because I'm cognizant of the effect that climate change can have on us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And while we're understanding the effects of coastal erosion, there are other areas, like on the western coast of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or the southern coast of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where we are not actually experiencing the effect of the prevailing wind from the Atlantic Ocean. So, for example, areas between Kaliakwa and Belial, and there's a very nice harbor down there south of Spring Village in the Cumberland area. So I went to the parliament and I asked of the minister with responsibility for transport and works, what plan does the government have to protect coastal areas between Kaliakwa and Spring Village from the effect of climate change? And they went and they told me how much money that they're spending on the eastern coastline of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they brushed aside the question, the more pertinent question of what is the plan for protecting our lands from the encroaching sea. Now, my friends, if you notice between Kaliakwa and Kingston, that is a center, well, even Camden Park, that is a center of economic activities. And those lands are either at sea level or below the level of the sea. So if we have a consequence here of rising sea level as a result of climate change, it means that the sea is going to inundate the land. It's going to erode the land. It's going to invade the land. Areas where we have these hotels are going to be flooded. Areas in Kingston, that is the center of economic activity and commerce, will also be flooded. And in Camden Park, where we have the pretty much a lone industrial estate, those factories also will suffer the consequence of flooding. So that is precisely the reason why I asked the minister, what do you have? What plans does the government have to mitigate against the effects of climate change in these areas? The beautiful Sandals Resort that we have at Buckerman Bay, that too will be affected negatively. But this government is not concerned about erecting sea defenses in these areas. As a matter of fact, they had a very large contingent that went to COP 28 that is a climate change conference in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia. Very large contingent. And they come back and they tell us all of the effects of climate change, but they would not tell us what plans they have to protect the coastline between Kaliakwa and, say, Cumberland. We also know that the countries, the larger industrialized countries, have put together a pool that they describe as a loss and damage fund of $700 million to affect countries, vulnerable countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from the effect of climate change. So whereas they're telling us that they're going to be spending $11 million on coastal defenses in Sandy Bay, they have not come to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and tell us precisely how much money that they have made. Well, not how much they've made, but how much money that was allocated to St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a vulnerable country to the effects of climate change. And that is one of the questions that you, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, must ask. Because while they're spending $11 million, we do not know if there's a larger pool and what precisely that pool is actually intended to do. But we know that the focus right now is in Sandy Bay and the Shipping Bay area, where they're trying to save the road. And obviously, yes, the sea is eroding the road in the Shipping Bay area in South Windward, approaching Bayaboo. So that's just what I wanted to talk about on climate change. But there's something else that I want to go on to and show you how climate change can affect something that this government has spoken so eloquently about. That is the blue economy. Now, when we talk about the blue economy, we're talking about fishing, the fishing industry. And we heard the Minister of Agriculture stating that they are going to allocate these monies now to try to improve the fishing fleet of our fisher folk here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they are going to have these boats built in Cuba. But climate change, as the scientists are warning us, global temperature actually rose by 1.48 degrees Celsius last year. And they're saying to us, if temperature rises to, that is global temperature, 1.5 degrees Celsius, it can have devastating consequences for islands like ours. Because yes, we're dependent on fishing. If temperature goes up to 1.5 degrees Celsius, it means that the sea itself is going to heat up. And at a temperature of 1.5 degrees Celsius, up to 70% of our coral reef can be destroyed. Now, where am I going with this? For those persons who understand the food chain of the sea, you know, it starts with something, a tiny marine organism that is called plankton. Now, the plankton is a plant organism, very, very small. The plankton is eaten by something that is called phytoplankton. And the phytoplankton is the animal life that is actually eating the plankton, and then smaller fish now start eating the phytoplankton, and then the larger fish will eat the smaller fish, and that is where we have the food chain of the sea. But coral reefs are very important to us because we have spawning taking place there. We have marine organisms forming schools around there. That's where they have a lot of their food. And if we have 70% of our coral reef being destroyed, it means that our fish itself, the volume of fish that we have there, will also be depleted. Because once the plankton and the phytoplankton is gone, it means that there is nothing for the smaller fish to eat. And that would significantly deplete the amount of fish that we have here. Hence, another reason for this government to look at climate change more seriously, rather than being climate change prostitutes, to talk about climate change a lot, see how much money that they can get from climate change, and don't use it so that we can adapt to the ravages of climate change. And speaking about adaptation, one of the things that the scientists are saying to us that we have to do is to plant trees. Why do we plant more trees? It is because what causes global warming is the emission of carbon dioxide. Not just carbon dioxide, but all the carbon that are emitted from these factories. And there are two things that actually absorb most of those carbon. One, the sea. The sea itself is going to absorb the carbon. And also plants. So for example, as they used to teach us in early science, when you exhale, you exhale air, carbon dioxide, and the plant itself uses that and convert that into oxygen. They're asking us to plant more trees to mitigate against the effects of climate change. But what did this government do? They went to North Leeward. They went to Richmond. And they went there and they conducted an act. Well, they didn't do it themselves, but they sanctioned it by leasing all those lands to rental, where they went there now and indiscriminately destroyed plants that were there for years and years and years. So rather than planting that they call reforestation or afforestation, they are actually deforesting the entire area, creating an environmental disaster and also contributing to climate change. So this is not a serious government. When they talk about climate change, one part of the mouth they talk about it, but they are actively destroying the environment and destroying one of the very things that the scientists are saying today can work to mitigate against the effects of climate change. That is the planting of trees. So rather than planting trees, they are removing the trees, destroying the environment, and therefore making us more vulnerable to climate change. I move on a little to talk about the Ministry of Housing. And I want to tie this into with climate change. Because with climate change, it means that we're going to be having or experiencing more extreme weather phenomena. So for example, where hurricanes might have been over the years a little mild and come and then we don't suffer much consequences, you'll notice in previous years that these hurricanes are getting stronger and stronger. That is simply because of climate change. And I've gone to the parliament because I'm cognizant of the fact that if we have a devastating or very strong hurricane, our housing stock will become very vulnerable. So I've gone to the parliament again to ask of the minister with responsibility for housing, what plans do the government have to make our people resilient with respect to housing? Because I know, and you know, that there are many people whose house roofs are just resting on because they do not have the means to repair the roofs. Because of the social and the economic circumstances here, they are unable to fix their roof. But you have a government here who is pledging to spend $24 million in the Ministry of Housing. They want to build 520 homes or repair hundreds of homes also in addition to building 520 houses for vulnerable people. And where am I going with this? You might be asking. Taxpayers' money is used to import building materials. And going back to the question that I asked, the Minister of Housing was unable to tell me and tell the nation the plan that the government has to help homeowners to become resilient so that they would be able to resist, their homes would be resistant to hurricane and the effects of climate change. Then what did the Prime Minister do in his normal way, trying to save them from embarrassment? He said, well, what we did is conduct a survey. Conduct what survey? They did not conduct a survey to determine which houses need to be repaired, which were the most vulnerable. But what they did, and they continue to do this, import building materials and give them out. There is something that they call quid pro quo. I'm going to give you something, but I'm expecting something from you in return. And what is it? They're giving you these building materials because they want your vote. And that is taking place in all of the ministries. Even in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, there are people there who are transactional, who are giving materials for votes. It is bribery. So they're giving these materials to people who already have, or those people who they think they will have their political loyalty. I've gone to the Prime Minister, tabulated a list of people as a representative that is constantly in communication with those pursuits that I represent, and said these people are in dire need of building materials. And I know you have a stockpile of building materials. I've submitted the letter. The letter was transferred to the Ministry of Housing. And I have to tell you, that list that I compiled was a list of persons who supported the New Democratic Party and also supporters of the Unity Labour Party. Because as a representative of the people, I do not see political colors. You are in need, and I will assist as much as I can. What did the Minister of Housing do as he received that letter? Conceal the letter. So not even the permanent secretary in that ministry had any knowledge that a letter was submitted from the Prime Minister's office to assist persons in South Leeward who are in dire need of building materials. And that went on for months and months until I embarrassed that particular minister. And you know what he said to me? I should not have gone and take any letter to the person that is running the ministry. Not him, you know. The administrator of that ministry. He did not give the people the materials simply because I did not come to him directly. But he's also the Minister of Family Services. And I know of families that are actually torn apart simply because they cannot live in the condition of their existing homes. One young lady said to me, and this young lady is living, well, I would not call the area, but in the constituency of South Leeward, that I can no longer live at home. I am living with some friends, and I know that they're fed up of me now. They're not telling me, but by their own action, I know that they're fed up of me. Please help me with these building materials. And one of those parcels, and that parcel is one of those parcels on the list that the Minister of Housing denied building materials. Whereas you only need to go to that ministry and say, this individual send me, and then you're going to get materials, no question asked. So because I am the representative of the people, I must look bad, and people must suffer the consequences. Families have to be broken up. 3 or 4 parcels go on to live in different areas, and you're the Minister of Housing and of Family Services. One young lady said to me that she is contemplating taking her own life because she has nowhere to live. You go to the Ministry of Housing and they're denying that individual that the right that all Vincentian taxpayers have to repay. So it's not a case where, because you're so selective with respect to who received these building materials, so selective that you're giving to those parties that you think are going to support you or who are clear supporters of the Unity Labour Party. But as I've said to them in the Parliament during the debate of the estimates, it is not ULP people alone who are paying for these materials. Those materials have to be paid for by all of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So why do we have this continued bias? I am saying to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that the New Democratic Party would have a different approach. The New Democratic Party, as we have practiced in the past, will ensure that there is a supply of building materials. There's a regular supply of building materials, not just at election time, because we want to be transactional, because we want to give you for your vote, we want to bribe you blatantly. No, we value our people far higher than that. We place a far higher premium on the pride and the dignity of the Vincentian people. And for those persons who are in need, we will ensure that there's a proper mechanism in place for them to receive the material help that they deserve. And a lot of our people are in dire need. But you have a government who would lock these materials away. Materials which belong to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they would not give them to the people that need. Also in housing, I hope the force in Camden Park, because this is a budget that did not at all address the needs of the people in my constituency. Housing. Coconut Range area, for those persons who hear about Coconut Range and who know where it is, you need to understand what it used to be like before. Coconut Range, that is so populous today, there was a time that all that you had there was coconut trees and gugu trees. And people went in there because of the New Democratic Party's policy of allowing people that need housing to acquire crown land, government-owned lands, and take their time and build their homes to what it is today. 2023 budget, the Minister of Finance said that we are putting a clear mark of, well, this is a demarcation. There is a clear difference in philosophy between the Unity Labour Party and the NDP. They said that they were entirely opposed to people occupying Crown land. So let me ask you, not only those persons who are living in Camden Park area, or those persons down there in South Leeward who are living on Crown land, anywhere in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially in areas like Diamond and in Glen, those are areas that are really represented. Those areas, and no one part of the Diamond area is South Windward, and the other part is East St. George. But the vast majority of the people there actually were squatters. So if it was left to this government, none of you would be a homeowner, because this government is saying to us that their philosophy departs from that of the New Democratic Party, because the NDP allowed people to occupy state land, and they are not in that. If you don't believe me, you locate a piece of government land anywhere, and any piece of Crown land, and go to the powers that be, go to housing, go to the ministry, any ministry that is responsible with responsibility for land, and see if you can get that piece of land. Over the years, it has become very difficult for people to acquire land, state-owned land, because it is a policy of the Unity Labour Party that they do not give land. And what a stark, well, I can't say comparison, but it's really a point of departure indeed between the Unity Labour Party, their philosophy, and that of the New Democratic Party. Because what the NDP government did is give land to the landless. But you have a government now here is saying to you, we are not going to give you Crown land. And they're actively involved in trying to reclaim those Crown land. And you know how they're doing that? By going down there and measure up people's land. Remember I was telling you that the Coconut area, Camden Park area, was actually a forested area. People cleared it and built lovely properties. What they're going down there now doing is valuing their land at present market value, not considering that when the people occupy those lands, what the condition of the land is. But I'm saying to you, the people of Camden Park in particular, and those of you who are living on Crown land, that you haven't paid yet for the land, anywhere in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the New Democratic Party will have a different approach. And we will not be putting our hands to your throat, mercilessly demanding of you monies that you do not have to pay for those lands. We will make it easier for you to own the land and your property, and we will make arrangement for you to make very minimal payment for those properties. That is our philosophy, because we want to make sure that the life of the Vincentian people is lifted. But this government wants to ensure that you live constantly in poverty and having to come to them day by day with a begging bowl. I move on, and I want to talk very, very briefly about an aspect of agriculture that the New Democratic Party is proposing. I know my friend, Senator Bruce, did not spend, well, he had so much to deal with that he actually omitted this part. But as the Minister of Agriculture in waiting, this is one of the things that I will now take the opportunity to raise to us. Because we know that in agriculture, we're talking about the traditional method of planting, producing these agricultural crops in soil. That is usually how it is done. But the New Democratic Party is now proposing a different method. And in a budget of so many pages, where there are so many projects promised to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, not a single word is mentioned of something that is called hydroponic. Now, hydroponic, when we talk about hydro, we're talking about water. When we talk about ponic, we're talking about, not panic, ponic, the different systems of planting. So we're talking about agriculture here. So rather than growing things in soil, we're actually using water to grow them. So the New Democratic Party is going to introduce this system of hydroponic farming, especially with respect to vegetables, because the root crops, obviously, you're going to have to use the soil. But with vegetable production, you don't need soil. We have a government here that talks so much and delivers so little. They talk so much about non-communicable diseases. They talk about healthy diet and exercising and so on. And we've always been asking the question, balance your meal and so on. How can you balance meal when you cannot get the vegetables needed for that balanced diet? You can't go to the supermarket because the vegetables are so expensive. So with hydroponics, you do not need soil, you do not need land to grow these things. All you need to do is have a system, a mechanism where people have PVC pipes, and then you start, there's a mechanism that you use, and sometimes you may have to use a pump, but it doesn't have to be an electrical pump per se. We can generate electricity, take it off the national grid, and use solar systems. Just a little solar panel will pump this water. So even all the elderly people, senior citizens, that we are so concerned about coming down with diabetes and all of these sorts of things, and hypertension, they can get actively involved in farming, not by using a cutlass and a hoe and a fork. The New Democratic Party administration will ensure that every household have the means to practice hydroponic farming. And this is something that we will be raising and talking to you a lot more, because it is something that is exciting. Look at Antigua, for example. They don't have any rivers, but they're producing so much vegetables simply because they're using the practice of hydroponic farming. Now, I know my time is running out, but I want to deal with the roads in the constituency of South Leeward. Last year, $100 million were allocated for roads. And the only road that was fixed in South Leeward, it is a piece of road in Vermont leading to the Vermont Nature Trail that have gone to the parliament and embarrassed this government to fix. Eventually they fixed it. And you know what they did? I mean, I'm telling you, that there was no road in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that was as bad as that piece of road. And that road was leading to the Nature Trail, which is a major tourist destination. People didn't want to drive their vehicles. Even when I was going there to take photos, people were saying to me, carefully mash up a vehicle there, I even invited the Minister of Tourism to go to that site. I said to him, do not use your vehicle, use the government vehicle, because I'm concerned that yours will be damaged. He said to me, no, that's not a problem because I have a pickup truck. Well, that's the ideal thing to go there. But he did not go. But after putting pressure on them, they actually fixed that road. But they fixed the middle of the road. So the entrance of the road itself, it is very bad. The middle piece is beautiful now. And the other end is terrible. As a matter of fact, the next rainy season, that road can collapse because there's a culvert there. And there's a serious embankment taking you down to the Gums River. This is a government that really does not care. And quickly, I want to talk about this road in 20 Hill. I know those persons who are living in 20 Hill who were relocated from the Gipsy Corner area because the land up there was sliding away. So the government relocated them to 20 Hill. And they are so bright. They actually constructed a concrete road 400 meters away from the main road. So you have to walk or drive 400 meters before you actually get to concrete. So they put the concrete road in the area where they constructed those homes for those persons who are relocated from Gipsy Corner. But for those persons who are living in that area originally, closer to the main road, they have to contend with this dirt road. That dirt road that has affected so much damage to people's property, walls breaking down in the rainy season, and because there's so much heavy truck going around to this quarry where trucks are constantly moving materials, aggregate, and taking them to Sandals, destroying that road completely, destroy the main road between 20 Hill, going down to Big Stone Corner in Penniston, into Paris Corner, and also that area where you have the bus stop, opposite the bus stop in Double, by Double Road there. Destroy that road completely, taking materials to Sandals. And if that is not bad enough to add insult to injury, this government has allocated $5 million to fix a road leading to the Sandals Resort. Not a soul live down there, but in a community of 20 Hill and in Penniston and Dubwa, so many people living there, and the road is getting worse, and the government is doing absolutely nothing to fix them. The New Democratic Party will change that, my friends. Especially those of you in the 20 Hill area who have been quarreling and pleading with this government. But all your pleas and your requests have been falling on deaf ears. The New Democratic Party has heard you. And with the first opportunity, we will make sure that that road is fixed. Very briefly, this road between Keita Delpech and Vin Durham, that is the first question that I asked when I was elected to the parliament in 2010. First question. And today, the year of our Lord 2024, I am still raising the need for this road to be fixed. You don't want to see the condition of this road in the rainy season. Children having to go to school, putting plastic bags over their shoes to avoid walking in pools of water and mud. Some of them had to take the shoes off. I've gone to the parliament for so many years and asked questions about when the government is going to fix this road, and nothing. As a matter of fact, the Prime Minister said to me that, yes, I'm going to do it. By September last year, he would start it. I'm still waiting. The Bureau of Standard Road, one lady fell down in that road. That's a road between the Bureau of Standards and where Jerry Scott is living. A former Minister of Communication and Works, who there's so much road throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is treated with such disdain. The road is so bad. One lady walked there, fell, and was hospitalized because she damaged her back so badly. For years I've asked this government to fix it, and nothing. But the Hill Road, I don't know what kind of government we have in this country. That is such a very important bypass road that can link Bottom Kittels, the junction to take it to WFM, just on the other side of that road. That is where you have the Body the Hill Road, and that takes you right up to Top Kittels. For years I've been going to the government, to the parliament, and I asked them to fix that road. Because there's so much nightmare leading between WFM Gap and going across where Bobby Shop is in Bottom Kittels to go around the Cleverly area. Traffic jam like crazy whenever something happened on the main road. And just before Christmas, a telephone pole blocked the road in Coconut Range, and everybody had to go down to the factory road to go down to Bottom Kittels, and there was an absolute nightmare, 5 hours in traffic. Whereas if he had only fixed that Bonnie the Hill Road, it would have alleviated all that problem. Another road I've been talking about is a link road between the low-income housing project and Welland Hill. A road which is not more than 500 meters to link those two communities that can ease up the traffic. And this government, again, has neglected the idea and rejected it completely, outrightly. to link that so that we can have traffic passing. Because if something happens in the vicinity of the Unity Labour Party office in Chauncey or the area of Cockabay Rock, nobody coming from Kingston can go to Leeward. They can reach Willen Hill for sure. And anybody from Willen Hill northwards, you cannot get to Kingston or Camden Park. It is a dead end, dead stop. But if you link Big Bush Road, that is so bad, that has been built by the New Democratic Party and left to rot by this administration, if you fix that road and link it with the low-income housing project, then you have a very decent and convenient bypass road. But they're not doing anything about it. This piece of road I've asked about above the Catholic Church in Willen Hill, also going up to Galen Carter in Willen Hill as well. I've pleaded with this government, nothing for them. Nothing in the budget for Willen Hill except for community center. Pembroke Road, Riverdale, neglected by this government. Coconut Range between Elsa Daniel and Dodo Young, neglected. Coconut Range, where Princess Miller and those good people over there are living, neglected by this government. Merricky Road, neglected. Corker Road in Chauncey, neglected. Choice Hill Road in Top Kittels, neglected. But you have a government that had a roads budget last year. $100 million, can't spend any in South Leeward. $47 million this year, and not a single mention of any road in the constituency of South Leeward. I want to end with two items very briefly. One, if you look around Kingston or in your community, you will notice that there's so many people who have one of their legs amputated. Do you know of anybody in your community who's an amputee? I realized that these people, before their amputation, were living normal lives, very productive lives. But unfortunately, because of one incident or the other, or some of them come down with diabetes, they have had to amputate one of their legs. But an amputation should not mean the end of your productive life. I went to the parliament because I've seen so many people hopping around, lost their mobility, can't return to their routine, their normal way of life. So I went to the parliament. And even before I went to the parliament, I went to a particular, as the minister, well, not the minister, but the vice president of the New Democratic Party with responsibility for external affairs. I've had the privilege of meeting with a number of ambassadors from different countries. And I went to one of those ambassadors on behalf of the people who have been amputated to see how they can assist. And as fate would have it, one of those persons that I approached said to me that their country actually donated 100 prostheses. Well, the materials to build the false legs, as we call them. Donated enough materials to build 100 of those. Not last year, not the year before, but for years, those materials are sitting in a room in Kingston. That ambassador even went on to tell me that his country trained 2 persons to make those prosthetic legs. And the people that they trained are ready and willing to start making these so that the amputees can get the leg and return to their normal way of life or significantly improve their mobility. I went to the parliament and I asked questions about this. How many people are amputated? And I was told over 100. Then I asked, what plan does the government have to assess these people with prosthesis? You know what they said to me? The Minister of Health was honest to say to me that they receive help from this particular country, and all that they're waiting on is a room to set up so that they can start operating. So you'll wait for 3 years to start operating. Look at St. Lucia, for example. They have the same program going. They have 10 persons employed to make these prosthetic legs. And of the 10 persons, 6 of them are amputees themselves. And I can see the wisdom in hiring people who are amputees because they understand, as being a person or persons who are actually wearing these false legs, they know what is comfortable and what is not. They would know how to measure and how to actually fabricate this so that it would be easy to use. It would be flexible. But this government, again, has done nothing, absolutely no care, no empathy for the people of this country. For those persons who are amputees and are really anxious to get their lives back together, the New Democratic Party at the first opportunity will ensure that that room is available to those persons to build, to make those prosthetic legs so that you can regain your mobility. I want to end on this note because clearly I am not being able to expound to you all the things that we want to do for the constituency of South Leeward. But I want to end off with the community centers and going back to the ministry with responsibility for this, the Ministry of Housing. There are community centers in South Leeward. Vermont Community Center that have had to go to the parliament and embarrass them because of the dilapidated condition of that building. They fix it up, and they fix it and they lock it up. Community don't have use of it. Penniston Community Center that was so active, run down, dilapidated, is literally a pen for animals. And don't even want to talk about the resource center that the Bail in Kittels. The one in Wayland Hill Community Center, just a short few years ago, that was retrofitted, refurbished. They're coming back to us to tell us that they want more money to retrofit that building that was never used for the community. The only use for that community center was when we have election, one day. Sometimes when there is registration for ID cards, when it's close to election. But by and large, that was used as a warehouse for love boxes. So I don't know who mashed it up, but they want more money to repair it. Well, fine. Clare Valley Community Center, another one built by the New Democratic Party, designated as a hurricane shelter. That community center is crying out to go into a shelter from storms. It is leaking. There's no electricity. Bad windows. The elements are coming in. And I don't know, last hurricane season, they actually sent people over there as an emergency shelter. And when the people went there, they could not have been sheltered from the elements. So they said they're going to fix that. And I'm waiting with bated breath to see whether or not this government will actually spend the money to repair that community center there. The one in Camden Park that was so active that actually collapsed, the roof collapsed. And after the roof collapsed, my friends, it took this government more than 5 years to fix it, to build it back. The people of Camden Park never get access to it. It was a warehouse full of box again. Then it became an office of, well, the Ministry of Social Development. But I said to the minister in the last debate of the estimates in the parliament, because I noticed that the same person who is the representative for the Ministry of Social Development is the same person who was working in the office of the Unity Labour Party in Chauncey. And that was the same officer who was the welfare officer. So I've said to them, I made it abundantly clear that if I find out that that office in Camden Park there, that they say they have this, for the social welfare representative, is also twinning as a office of the Unity Labour Party, they would be out before they know it. They said, boy, you're a bad man. But to tell you the content for which these people hold the people of South Leeward and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they went a step further because the estimate was just in December, Today is the 18th of January, and I'm telling you, but last weekend, the Camden Park Community Center has become a hotel. Housing people who came into this country to walk on the Sandals Resort. Do you understand what I'm saying here? That community center in Camden Park that the residents of Camden Park cannot have access to is now acting as a hotel for walkers who come into our country to walk at the Sandals Resort. I'm watching it. I'm picking my time. I'm very methodical with my response and my approach to what is going to take place after. These community centers could have been used to teach life skills. So rather than locking them up, making them officers of the Unity Labour Party under the guise of office of a welfare officer, or of warehouses for love boxes and all of these things, people could have been trained, because we heard the Prime Minister saying that they had to import workers at Sandals because St. Vincent did not have enough skilled workers. Okay. So the very center, the very facility that you should have been using to teach life skills to these people so that they can make themselves employable and reduce the unemployment situation. You're not teaching them anything, but you're bringing in those very foreign workers to take up residence in the community center. I want to say to you again, the New Democratic Party would hit the ground running when we get into government. I went to Dubois and I did a Facebook Live on a building, a dilapidated building that was used as a community center there, once upon a time. I have outlined to the residents of Dubois and Penistone that would be used to teach life skills to people. And I am happy to report to you that a Vincentian National in England reached out to me to say to me, the minute you get into government, that's somebody who is involved in furniture making, I am going to donate all of my materials, all of my machine, so that you can start setting up so that people in that area can become cabinet makers, cabinet and furniture makers. So we're not just talking in the New Democratic Party. We just don't talk the talk, but we walk the talk. And we're just waiting on that opportunity to get into government to make your lives better. I did say that was the last thing, but I know the people in Camden Park will not forgive me if I do not talk about the river defense that this government promised them since last year. River defense in the York River. Since last year, they promised that they're going to erect these defenses. Nothing happened. They bring it back this year, and I want to see what is going to happen. But I promise you that I will be on their case to ensure that it is done. But I have a very good idea of something that might happen this year. So even if they don't do it for you, the opportunity will be presented where the New Democratic Party would be in a position to deliver that to you. And those of you in the low-income house area in Clare Valley, they have allocated some money for river defense that I've been begging for you for the longest while. I will again see what they do. I am by no means exhausted what I want to do. But I have a vision for the constituency of South Leeward, how I want to see it. How I want to see Camden Park, Rocher Bay, Kittels Bay, and Clare Valley become a blue community. What do I mean by a blue community? Because we are going to be focusing in those areas as fishing communities to incorporate them as a part of the blue economy, so that when you start seeing the economic development in those areas, you can know for sure that not the building, but the community is now what it is because of the blue economy, because of the benefits of the blue economy, so that those persons whose lives are now better off, they will comprise what we call a blue community. And that will be reflected very soon. There is a vision that I have, and you will hear a lot more about it as time goes by. So thank you very much for listening. I know I've been really long, but I really needed to get these things out because I've been out of action for some time because I was not that well. But I take the opportunity now to explain to you what our position is on the budget and how we're going to be differing from the Unity Labour Party, because our modus operandi is to lift the people, this Vincentian people, out of poverty. We want to ensure that there's a better quality of life for you. And as soon as we get into office, you can rest assured that your lives are going to get better. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Brother Nature. Really a pleasure listening to you. I know you said you were long. I didn't realize the time because very, very interesting and keeping with the trend, a very, very worthwhile contribution. So really appreciate that. We're 12 minutes after 1. We're going to take a break. It's just maybe about 8 minutes. Then we'll return to a new feed. So those of you following us on the Facebook and feed, you'll join us there also. You'll join us back there in just about 8 minutes. So we'll take the break now and we'll come right back.